Hey everybody, how you doing? Darren here. So I heard this interesting question and I'd like to talk about it a little bit. And the question is, are union construction workers really overpaid? Or do non-union contractors just take advantage of their employees? I thought that was interesting because it's slanted one way on both questions. It's not an either or, it's a both, right? So I guess let's talk about the first one. Are union workers overpaid? So I work in the construction trades union. I'm a plasterer by trade, and I would say that union workers, yes, do get paid higher normally than non-union workers. That's not always true. We'll talk some more about that. But for the most part, it's fair to say that union workers usually get paid more than their non-union counterparts. Does that mean that they're overpaid? I don't think so. I've been around the country, mostly on the west end of the country, west of the Mississippi, and what I've seen, what I've noticed as far as workers' pay is that it depends on what state you're in, and the reason why I say that is because it depends on the cost of living in the state. So you could take two completely different states, like say New Mexico, where the cost of living is lower and the pay is a lot lower as well. Or you could take Seattle, Washington, where the pay is extremely high. Even by my standards, I'm come from Las Vegas, where we get paid pretty well as well. But Seattle's pay is much higher. But I dare you to go try to find a 3-bedroom house for rent in Seattle and afford it without getting the pay that they get. So what people don't consider is that. Even I talk to a lot of people who come from bigger cities, and I tell them what other unions are paying in other states, and they balk at that. They think, oh my gosh, that's way too low. I wouldn't get out of bed for that. So there are different pay scales in different cities. So do union workers, are they overpaid? I don't think so. I've been working as a union plasterer most of my life, and I'm not rich. I'm barely middle class. I would say I'm middle class. But I think we need more middle class in this country. We're losing the middle class. A lot of especially construction workers are either in the poor category, or you could be in the rich category a lot of times if you're a contractor. And I don't say that in a bad way. That's fine. Contractors take a lot of chances. They put a lot out on the line, a lot of money on the line. They put their reputations on the line. They put their time on the line. There's a lot that they put on the line for that. So that's not a bad thing. But we're sticking just to the question today of, are union workers overpaid? And like I say, I don't think so. I think they're paid fairly. I think in a lot of cases they're maybe even underpaid. And when I say that, the reason why I say that is because of things like inflation. The cost of living is going up everywhere. The cost of gas, for example, right now is out of this world, but the pay rates are not going up to keep track on that. I think a lot of you could agree with me. If you put gas in your tank recently, just gasoline alone, the cost of that has gone up, but has your pay gone up enough to compensate for that? No, I bet it hasn't. The cost of food has gone up. When you work construction, a lot of times we eat out a lot, fast food or whatever at lunchtime, or we buy food off the lunch wagon or whatever. The cost of all of that has gone up, but your pay probably has not gone up as much as fast as inflation has gone up. So I would say, from my perspective, that union workers, for the most part, are not overpaid. Even though you hear stories of how much somebody gets paid, $75 an hour in a particular location, and you think that's crazy, it probably isn't crazy if you look at that location and the cost of living there. It's probably pretty much normal. What unions do is they provide a balance between the contractor on the one side, who wants to get labor as cheap as possible, and on the other side, the workers who want to make as much as possible. And when you're one-on-one with a contractor, it makes it real difficult because he can always turn you away and go get somebody else for a cheaper price. As unions, we work together, we negotiate together, and that does tend to help the pay stay a little bit higher. That I will say, though, that also sometimes benefits the contractor. And you ask me, well, how does that benefit the contractor if they're getting paid higher? Well, take, for example, a contractor who comes into a state or a city where he doesn't have a crew, or he or she does not have a crew. How are they going to man their jobs when they don't have skilled labor in that area? It would be easy for them to call a union and sign a contract with the union, and then the union provides the labor that's local from that area. Also, people don't take into account what unions do with some of that money. There are things like apprenticeships, 4-year apprenticeships that get paid for with that money. As a brand new apprentice, no matter what trade you're going into, you're probably looking at least a 3-year apprenticeship, or most of the time a 4-year apprenticeship, and some are even 5-year apprenticeships. And you typically, when you go through those, what you get is you get your certifications. Some trades require licenses, so you get your licenses when you go to your apprenticeship classes, and stuff like that. You also get things like certifications for safety. I know in my state, Nevada, OSHA 10 is required on a construction site, and most contractors, if you're non-union, require the worker him or herself to go out and get that OSHA class, and they pay for it out of their own pocket. When you're a member of the union, when you go through your apprenticeship, you automatically get an OSHA 10, and even most of the time an OSHA 30. Well, they don't call it a certification, they call it an approval or whatever, but you go through the OSHA classes and you get those cards that qualify you and show that you've been trained in safety. And that goes a long way to helping a contractor stay competitive, because if a contractor has a lot of injuries on a job site, that can cost them way more than the cost of keeping people trained and safe on the job site. So there's a lot of benefits to being a member of the union, and I would not say that personally that the pay, that they're overpaid. Of course, you hear stories of people being lazy sometimes, but that happens everywhere. It's not just a union thing, it's a personal choice that some people have. Some people like me, I want to give my contractor the best I possibly can, and that helps to secure my job as well. So when they know that I give good work for a good day's pay, that's all I expect, and that's really all they expect. So that's the answer to that question. I haven't mentioned some things, I'll just mention in passing. Keep in mind, unions have gone a long way to lobbying for workers' rights in this country. Things like equal pay for women. It's interesting because you hear a lot of times women saying they don't get paid as much, but when you're a member of a trade union, if you're a journey person in that craft, let's say you're a journey person concrete finisher, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you get paid the same in the union. Workers' comp insurance, so if you get hurt on the job, there's an insurance that your contractor pays for. That way, while you're recovering, you still can have some kind of income to help keep your household afloat. The 8-hour workday, instead of working 12 hours, 7 days a week, 8-hour workday is in force, and also overtime after 40 hours. Those are all things that the unions help to pass. Also, holidays off or holiday pay if you have to work on the holiday. And then safety conditions on the job site, as well as many other things like child labor laws the unions were instrumental in getting those things passed. So I think we can all agree most of those things are good. They help workers, and unions, somebody has to pay for that to happen at the legislatures. So those are the things that I got for you today. That's my opinion. If you have any other comments or questions, go ahead and put them in the descriptions below. And if you're interested in concrete finishing, plastering, or fireproofing, we are hiring through the unions throughout the United States. I'll put a link in the description below. You can contact me even if you already have a job, just to contact me and find out what it would look like in your area. And I could put you into contact with the people in your area that are hiring for the unions. And that's all I got for you today. Thanks. Again, this is Darren signing out. Bye-bye.